Hello, this week's Parsha is Vayikra, and I don't have to get far, just the word Vayikra itself is something I would really like to focus in on because this word that begins this whole Sefer is something that holds within it something that, to me, right off the bat, is really sad, but ends up on an encouraging note, and I'll tell you what that is. The words in the begins is Vayikra, Hashem called to Moshe, and Rashi says specifically that God was talking to Moshe alone, not anybody else. And the reason why this is very depressing is because God really wanted to communicate in the beginning on Har Sinai with all the nation, and the nation rejected that correspondence. They said, it's too much for us, we can't handle it. If we hear from God, we'll die. And so therefore they needed a go-between, and it had to be Moshe. And so God was limited to speaking to Moshe in order to convey certain mitzvot to the whole entire nation. And that's why the alef in Vayikra, maybe one of the reasons why it's small, is because God was forced to, so to speak, diminish himself in speaking only through Moshe to the people. First of all, when God speaks through somebody else, and then the message goes to the other people, already it's secondhand. It's not being experienced by the individuals themselves, but by Moshe. And that already is less value, as you can understand why. And another thing is why it's such a diminishment of God's presence is because imagine if every single person could hear those words of God themselves, that they would experience the fullness of all these words, and the experiencing, the knowing, the hearing, the one-on-one of each and every person being filled with that voice and understanding and hearing. That would be so much more of a revelation of God. And so in the end, God was forced to just speak, so to speak, by rejection of the people, which God gives us a choice, whether to hear him, to listen to him, to be a part, or to reject that. And God doesn't force himself on us. And when they rejected him, he had to speak through Moshe to them. And so that's really sad. And then it begins, of course, what was God telling Moshe? He was telling them that when a man sins, they have to bring korbanot. Because inevitably now, what's going to happen is when they don't have, we know Moshe was at such a high level, right? There never was, never will be somebody like Moshe. One of the reasons, it's one of these circular things. One of the reasons why Moshe was so great was he experienced God. And when you're so close in the experience of God and truth and what's good, it becomes a part of you that you don't even want to do bad, or you see clearly everything that is good. The bad becomes not even an option for you. But when we distance ourselves from God, from hearing, from learning, from knowing what is good, then of course we're more likely to falter. And then we have to, in those days, it was to bring korban and the mizbeach and all those that we are going to be told after this word, Vayikra. So that's what's really the sad thing. But the really encouraging, the really beautiful thing, I think, is that this Vayikra, with the small aleph indicates that small bit of God that we all have inside of us, that we can all hear, that God leaves that opening for us to just attune ourselves to connect with, and to get back that closeness. And, hopefully in that search and then listening to that small voice of God, we can have a good life and things can be good. And I think that's so pertinent today. It's really, really sad that we're all stuck in our homes, with not much to do. And this is opportunity. There's a Vayikra, there's a calling now God is calling out to the people to listen to that voice. Unfortunately, many people are taking this opportunity, of course, to, binge watch things or whatever. I know a lot of people are knee deep in doing, preparing for Pesach and helping others and really spending quality time with their family. All this is very valuable. But also, we shouldn't miss this opportunity that God is giving us to connect, to hear that voice. There is a voice that is calling out for us now. And it's so beneficial and so wonderful. And I hope we can all connect to that and have a wonderful Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom.